2023 has been a wonderful year for my LEGO. I've met some brilliant people, taken part in some wonderful events and had brilliant fights. So I thought it would be quite nice to show my top 5 favourite fights that I took part in. They weren't necessarily the fights that I won or the fights that I did best in, but just the ones I enjoyed the most. There was something about the event, or the people I was fighting, or the people who were watching that just made them really special. So here are my top 5 fights of 2023. Okay, at number 5 is Smoo versus Beaky. I love fighting Smoo, and I must have fought Smoo about 20 times this year. This fight was at the Bournemouth Brick Festival on September 2023. It was a wonderful fight, which I eventually lost because Smoo I described to people as the super nanny of LEGO robot fighting. It's the way it flicks out, the way it slowly and calmly pushes you into the pit, and there's nothing you can do about it. Bournemouth was a wonderful event, really lovely, met some brilliant people. Met Tim from Team Monsoon, who had a little shoot with me with Bluetooth, which was great. But the thing I really loved about this fight the most was that I gave my best, Disty gave his best. As always, it's a wonderful fight, but the Bournemouth Brick Festival, here it is, really quite a big venue, absolutely rammed with people, rammed with tables, and afterwards, one of the sellers told us that they knew when our fight times were on because the entire room emptied over to our side, and they couldn't sell anything, because we'd stolen the entire crowd. So that's why I love this fight. It was really good fun, really good fight, but we had made something that had stolen an entire crowd from an entire brick festival. Go check out Disty Block Party Robot League's channel, wonderful stuff, more of Smoo and some fantastic fights and robot builds on there. At number 4 we've got Calabos versus Monsoon, and at the time of recording this happened last week. It was at Camberley in the pop-up shop. It was really good fun, lovely people, really good hosts, just a really nice time. The reason I like this fight so much is because I had a game plan and I stuck to it and it worked really well, and I don't think there's anything more satisfying than that in a big robot fight. So my plan was run away as much as I can and then try and find space, find that opportunity for when Monsoon turns its back on me, and then I can kind of push it over to the edge and just throw it off as quickly as possible so that it doesn't have a chance to hit me or hurt me at all. The other thing I found about this fight that was so satisfying is I chose Calabos for it because it had a history of being utterly ruined by spinner robots, so I thought I wanted to give it this chance to kind of redeem itself, and it's just great that the robot finally worked how I wanted it to. It's supposed to be fast, it's supposed to kind of weave in and out, take advantage of spaces, get away from the primary weapon of an opponent, and then wait for that golden opportunity to deliver its stop hit, throw someone out the arena, and it just works. So yeah, I think this fight is special to me because it's just everything I wanted the robot to do and everything I wanted the strategy to achieve, and it's just brilliant. Alright, coming in at number 3 is Bluetooth versus Tanku. This was at the Bristol Brick Show, hosted by Gert Lug, that raised about £20,000 for charity. Fantastic. And that was in November. And it was a wonderful event. It was the first time I had hosted using my own arena, like properly hosted. And Marcin, wonderful guy, really lovely guy, brought along his first ever robot, which is Tanku. Now, this is an interesting robot because it weighs about 1.3 kilos. We chuckled when we first saw it because it moves so slowly, and it reminded us of all of like a Eurovision themed carnival float that had been tasked with drilling out the Channel Tunnel. But he put it in the arena and we saw it against Vegas, the horizontal spinner. Now Vegas is quite new, so when it broke after 2 or 3 hits, we were like, okay, that's pretty tough, that's pretty cool, well done, that's a good robot. Then when we saw it go up against Second Revolution, now Second Revolution's got like a 330 gram spinner. That thing was the nastiest robot at Bristol by a long way. After a few hits, it also broke, and that's when we started to think, oh, hang on, Marcin might have made a pretty nasty robot here. Then Marcin kind of recalled back to July Concord Gert Lug event where I first met him, and we were using his arena for some of the robot fighters to fight in, and he saw Bluetooth fight for the first time, and he thought, do you know what, I'm going to make a robot to beat Bluetooth. And he told me this story, and then he asked, can I fight Bluetooth? And at this point, I was quite scared, because I'd seen it break Vegas, I'd seen Tanku break Second Revolution. Now he's kind of calling me out and telling me that the reason he built this thing was to beat Bluetooth. So I had to agree. He's challenged me, but I went to this fight really scared because I love Bluetooth. It is the pride and joy of my collection. Yeah, I was really terrified. The fight I took very carefully. I'd seen everyone else smash themselves up against him, so I did a couple of hits, a couple of test hits, slowed down the weapon, checked it over every now and again to make sure it was still working, but eventually realised that he kept showing me his front and kept wanting me to hit his front, so I tried to just see if I could start hitting him on the side, and eventually I lured him and misdirected him one way so he turned to his side, then delivered a big hit to the low part of the centre of his side panel and completely threw him over. So the reason this comes into my top 3 fights is because my heart was like pounding the entire time. I was so scared that at any moment Bluetooth, the wheel was just going to snap or the axle was going to break and he'd do to me like he did to everyone else and just very slowly push me in the pit. Bristol was a wonderful event. It raised loads of money for charity and yeah, just a really great time. Okay, my second favourite fight of the year I've entitled Ice Climbers versus the World. It was a 7-robot rumble at the end of Robo Nerd, which is held in Wolverhampton. What an event, Robo Nerd. I think it's my favourite event I went to over the year. It was full of my old Robot Wars legends, but also BattleBots legends were there as well. I met people like Dave Moulds, the team of Quantum, John Reed, who's just a lovely guy. But I also met Andrew Harvey, who I've been following his work on with Pegasus for ages now. Dave from Lego Wars was there, and it was just an amazing event. Everyone was just so lovely and just up for just a really nice time. And the final fight of the day was a huge 7-robot rumble, which I decided to field the Ice Climbers with a teenage boy who had been like hanging around and done some really good driving over the day. So I handed him the controller to Popo, and we just had an amazing time. I'd rebuilt the Ice Climbers about a few days before, just because they weren't performing very well. So I thought, okay, I'll strip them down, like try again, and they just performed absolutely fantastically. I think how comedic they were and how much people loved them for their comedy value, but also kind of semi-competitive they were. And then my favourite moment in probably any fight ever was the very end of the fight. Popo had fallen in the pit and I managed to get Nana to go over and pull Popo out of the pit, which is the most Ice Climber thing I think that's ever happened ever. And I think that's also kind of the reason why the crowd chose the Ice Climbers as the winner, because that kind of real crowd-pleasing moment at the end. Yeah, an incredible event. I recommend everyone goes to Robo Nerd at least once in their life. It's just, yeah, wonderful fight, wonderful people, wonderful day. Here it is, my number 1 fight, Aries versus Pegasus. Now, if you've seen my Aries video, you'll know that I've been quite obsessed with Pegasus for quite some time. I've been following Andrew Harvey's work online and his amazing builds. He's given me lots of advice and help over my many attempts to get a pneumatic flipper working, and I finally got it working this year. So going to Robo Nerd and realising he would be there and I could fight Pegasus became such an amazing idea that it's all I could think of for a while. So when we eventually fought, I remember the build-up and I was just so excited, incredibly excited. It was just what I've wanted to do for a long time. The whole day I basically spent being in a constant state of excitement and I was shouting and laughing all the time. During the fight, it was very even. There was one point where I flipped Pegasus and his elastic bands jammed and stopped working, so he was actually trapped on his back. Now I could have waited for him to be counted out and counted as a victory, but I thought, I've been wanting a fight for a while, so I think I'm going to let it go. So I kept it going. I eventually lost by the crowd's decision, but it was such an even fight, such a brilliant fight, so tactical, all about those front wedges and the kind of low ground and the driving ability. Such an even fight, such a great fight, and that's why it's my number 1 fight of the year. I've really enjoyed making this video. I think it's reminded me of just all the fun I had in 2023. I think the LEGO community is a wonderful group of people. I still think the LEGO community is probably the best thing about the internet. They're just such lovely people. I've met so many lovely people this year, been to so many different new places, and I've been given the opportunity to take part in some amazing events. So thank you to everyone who's organised or taken part in anything I've been a part of this year. I really have enjoyed it so much. I'm really looking forward to all the events next year and just how much more I'm going to improve as a builder and all the wonderful people I haven't met yet that I'll start meeting next year. So thank you to everyone. Have a lovely Christmas and a very nice New Year, and I'll see you in 2024.